I'm Tony ALEXIOU, and this is this week's Minotaur Minute. What's going on in the U.S., still, for that matter? Well, let's just try to recap. It's been a busy week or so here. Trump has been impeached now a second time, so he's got down his record. Chances are, he escaped conviction the first impeachment that happened. He may not escape it this time around. It looks like, though, the impeachment won't take place till after Biden gets inaugurated, so it might be a few weeks down the road, which Senator Mitch McConnell, who kind of orchestrated this, at least the time frame the impeachment is going to be happening later, was actually a pretty politically savvy mood. He's done with Trump, and he's unhappy with what he's turned the Republican Party into. Especially that it's after he spent all these decades trying to build into what it used to be, I suppose. So he's more than happy to get rid of Trump. He's more than happy to make sure he doesn't run again, which is what impeachment is really going to do at this point now. But by allowing it to happen after Biden takes control and the Senate becomes democratically controlled, it becomes their conviction, not the Republicans. So he gets his end result, but he doesn't get to feel that he was part of it, or he can play that he wasn't the reason it happened, which politically was a very savvy move. So we'll wait and see how it all works out. A conviction is not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. You need a 2/3 vote in the Senate, and that might be hard to come by, even with the Democratic, and it's not even a majority. It's 50-50 there right now. 51 if you have a tie-breaking vote with the vice president. So it still may not happen, but it's a better chance of it happening this time around than it did last time around. But we'll see how it rolls around. Inaugurations is next Wednesday, in a few days from now. Security here is unreal in the city right now. There's actually more troops, I read a statistic. There's more U.S. troops stationed in Washington, D.C. right now than there are in Afghanistan or Iraq or anywhere else in the world. And the response to that is twofold. A, it's the rumors of potential issues that could be happening during the inauguration, people coming up, you're trying to disrupt it, or even take it a step further and have violence. On the flip side, though, it's also trying to be a little overdone to try to compensate for how much it was underdone last week during the siege at Capitol Hill. So it's a combination of the two, but either way, there's a lot of security here. Even if someone were to try something, they're not going to succeed with the amount of people that are guarding the place right now. So that's going to be somewhat moot. So next Wednesday at noon, Washington, D.C. time, Biden becomes the next president. So what does that mean? He's going to inherit a number of problems. The first and foremost is a country that's deeply politically divided. There's still a strong subset of people that don't believe that he won the election fairly, that don't recognize him as president. So, he's going to be, the 46th president, but it's going to be 46th with an asterisk, because there's always going to be, for a lot of people, that underlying doubt in his election. It's just going to affect his administration. And as time goes on, moderates that don't believe he won the election fairly will eventually come around, and there's going to be a smaller set of people, the diehard supporters of Trump and the movement that they may continue protesting and stuff like that. Within them, there might be even a smaller subset, the people that may result in violence and taking protests one step too far. I'm imagining that's going to be a very small subset of people at this point right now, but they're still going to exist. We may see a situation where the U.S. goes into a period of prolonged political instability. Not unlike Weimar Germany, for example, or if you want to get a little more extreme, if the smaller subset of violent people tend to be very violent, we could end up having a situation like, the Troubles in Britain in the 1970s and 80s with Northern Ireland. I hope it doesn't come to that. I doubt it. There will be political uncertainty for a while here. There will be protests continually for a while, for a number of years, and might even carry on to the next election in 2024. I don't know at this point, but it's not going to be calm at this point. Trump himself is not going to orchestrate this. I understand the family's moving down to Florida. I don't believe that he's going to be orchestrating anything once he leaves town. He's going to be focusing on trying to rebuild his brand. Hotels, the golf clubs, the casinos, they all took a big hit during this presidency, especially in the last couple of weeks with everything that went down. So I see the Trump family retreating down to Florida, where they're going to be, and try to quietly rebuild their brand and recover what they've lost. The problem is, though, that the MAGA movement, the Trump movement, has gone now beyond Trump. You let the genie out of the bottle, but it's not going to go back in. The movement has almost grown beyond Trump at this point right now. So even if Trump doesn't do anything, which I doubt that he will, to move the movement forward, somebody else will pick up the torch, and it will continue. The MAGA movement is not finished next Wednesday. It's going to continue for a number of years still, and it's going to be a big issue in American politics for a while. I keep remembering there's an old Chinese proverb or curse, I don't know, depending on how you want to look at it. It said, may you live in interesting times. Well, here we are. Political instability in the U.S., it's not very common. It usually happens every 100 years or so. We're kind of going through a period of it now. We'll see how it all works out, but it's going to be interesting here for a while. But speaking of interesting times, Uganda. Now, there's an election that's a little more intense, actually, than what happened here. You know, will Uganda get a new leader soon? I don't think they will. I think the current leader, Yoweri Museveni, he's been in power for some 35-odd years. He is running right now for his 6th term. He's like 76 years old. Still going strong. He was riding high in the polls, apparently. His chief challenger was a singer from Kampala. Actual name is Robert Kyagulanyi. Goes by the stage name Bobby Wine, which is what his campaign name has been at this point. Now, you know, Wine has been very active on Twitter. He's captured the imagination of the youth of Uganda, the younger voters of Uganda, who many of whom have only known Museveni as the only president that country's ever had. It's been alleged that you know, Wine's phone was blocked by the government, that on election day security forces surrounded his car, wouldn't let him get around. The campaign itself was marred by violence throughout the whole campaign period, election day as well. Both sides are claiming that the election was, or will be rigged. So both sides are going to, you know, if either side loses, either one of them apparently is going to accept the results. International election observers were refused entry. The count is still ongoing because the election was only yesterday, so it's going to be a while before anything happens. Rumor has it, or Twitter is saying that the government shut off the internet to the country yesterday to prevent people from being able to talk to each other as the count was going on. So there's a lot of shadiness that seems to be going on in Uganda right now. You know, the polls that are returning coming in are showing Museveni winning by 60% of the vote right now. Even seeing this, Wine apparently on Twitter earlier today declared himself the winner, even though he's actually losing based on the numbers that the Election Commission is putting out, that he's not buying because apparently it's all rigged. And if it was reversed, Museveni would be saying the same thing at this point. So Wine tweeted that after he made that tweet that the military surrounded his house. He doesn't know why, and I haven't heard, I haven't seen, and he hasn't said why it's happened beyond there. So, you know, it's going to be days, if not weeks, before this is all sorted out. After 35 years, I very much doubt that Museveni is going to be going anywhere, you know. And Wine's problem is going to be that the military and the institutions of Uganda seem to back Museveni. So it seems like Bobby Wine might be out of luck here. We'll see how it rolls out there in the next couple of days. There will be continued violence in Uganda. There will be a lot of uncertainty in Uganda until this all gets sorted out. But, you know, it might be another situation like you had in Belarus. A couple, 3 weeks of this, and, you know, Museveni will settle up, and let's face it, he's going to be the leader there. Anyways, but as we continue on with the theme of political instability today, let's, you know, head over to Italy. Who's in charge there? Well, they're having their issues there right now, but for the time being, it's still Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte. And by all accounts, it's going to remain that way. You know, the Italian government has been thrown into crisis because Matteo Renzi, who is leader of the party that was supporting this coalition, pulled out a few days ago, citing that there were some big disagreements on how Italy was going to use their European recovery funds. The problem here isn't so much that this is happening, because this is Italy, and then this you know, coalition governments are the rule there. They seem to be, you know, this is kind of what happens in this country some of the time. So it's not news for them. The problem is that the timing. There's a populist party that's very anti-European and right-wing that's waiting in the wings to fill in the void that Renzi's party has left behind. The government that's in power right now is trying to make sure it doesn't happen. Because they don't need a coalition partner that's going to take Italy off the pro-European track, moderate track that it's on right now. And like I said, this happens often in Italy. The problem is the stakes are higher because the timing is bad. And what's happening right now, COVID is running rampant in that country. You know, the economy is contracted by about 10% or so people are getting desperate, they're getting upset, they're just not happy with what it is. So people in that situation are very much open to hearing anything that may provide, you know, or anybody that may provide them a solution, be it true or not true. You know, populist parties are great for that sort of stuff. And the worry is that if Conte can't pull together another coalition here to kind of get things going, there may be a snap election. The snap election then might open the door for a populist, anti-European government to take power, which could create a whole bigger mess, not just for Italy, but for Europe as a whole. You know, an Italian version of Brexit, which I don't think we'll ever get there, would be a pretty bad scene. So there's three options right now that Conte has. Number one is to find another partner, which is what he's trying to do. If that doesn't work out, you can go the technocrat route and try to find people to fill in the spot that aren't affiliated necessarily with the government, but seem to, you know, have a technical expertise. And Italy did that a while ago with Mario Monti. He was an economist. I think he's a senator now, but he wasn't at the time. And he filled in the void for a while to get Italy through another issue of problems that they had. But if that doesn't work out, then it's a snap election, and nobody wants that because, again, the right-wing party is waiting in the wings, and given the situation, they might actually have a pretty good shot of winning it. This is not going to be another Uganda. This is not even going to follow the same path the election followed here in the U.S. Again, Italy has done this before. They've worked through these problems more times than not. Coalitions almost are the rule there versus the exception. And things will be just fine as long as there's no snap election in Italy. So yeah, they'll be all right. That's the Minotaur Minute for this week. One thing I do want to plug, actually, we have released our 2021 Geopolitical Outlook, which is on our website, www.theminotaurgroup.com. Get on there, download it. It's in the PDF form. Give it a read. It's a fantastic little document we put together. If you don't want to download it, email us at info@theminotaurgroup.com, and I will more than happily email it to you. Anyway, thanks very much. We'll see you all next week.